Hey there, my name is Adam from the team here at Parabola, and in this video, I'll be sharing how retail teams like Juice Press and Vuori are automating their most manual, repetitive spreadsheet tasks without writing code in Parabola. First things first, why do teams choose to use Parabola? Whether we're working with a supply chain team or merchandising or a logistics team, everyone we talk to is really drowning in a lot of the manual repetitive spreadsheet work that it takes to sustain day-to-day operations. And that might be an end of month report, that might be needing to be reactive to CSVs that you're receiving in an email attachment or a PDF. And in an ideal world where you have unlimited engineering resources, it's certainly possible for someone from IT or a tech team to come in and build new dashboards and automated reporting systems to actually knock out a lot of this work. But many of the teams that we work with have limited technical resources where those teams are at capacity, they have long backlogs, and realistically, non technical teams that are trapped in these spreadsheets need to be the ones to actually build and deploy their own software solutions, since they're the ones that are really closest to the problem, understand all of the kind of nuance complexity associated, but are just kind of constrained when it comes to having a tool to actually build out those different types of automations. And so that leads us into Parabola, right? How does Parabola actually work? So I'm going to give you a quick kind of 101 of how to use Parabola, and then from there we'll dive into a retail specific example. Right now we're on the Parabola canvas where we can really build these end-to-end automations that can pull data from anywhere, manipulate it much like you would in a spreadsheet, and then finally send it off to wherever it needs to go, whether that is a Google Sheet, an email, a Slack message, so on and so forth. First step there is to actually pull in your data. So when I click this toolbar in the top left, you'll see we have a column of different sources here. So at the simplest level, something like a CSV file or a Google Sheet, but we also can do things like email attachments and Shopify, ShipStation, internal databases, so on and so forth. You can imagine pulling from Shopify and a Google Sheet, and maybe we need to do something like a VLOOKUP, right? Think about what your manual process is today. We'll kind of mirror those manual steps through these transformation steps here in Parabola. So whether you're doing something like sorting or filtering in a spreadsheet, or doing something like combining two data sets based on a unique identifier, much like a VLOOKUP, you can drag and drop your steps, connect your arrows, and start to build out a fully automated workflow in Parabola. And as you can see, we do need to set up a little bit of the logic here, but these flows tend to come together pretty quickly. Once we've actually built that end-to-end automation, the last thing that we can do is actually send that data off wherever it needs to go. And so if I click back on my integrations here, maybe I want to search in this case for email and email a CSV attachment. Maybe I also want to, for instance, send this data to a Google Sheet. So we can set up a second method for export there. Really, wherever we need to get this data, we can build that automation to get it there. And now when we look at what a fully built out flow looks like, the biggest difference you'll probably notice right off the bat is we're using these cards to really group together similar processes to add documentation and create these kind of reusable building blocks that we can use across different flows and share with teammates. If we jump to what this is actually outputting in this flow, you'll see that we have a list of our different locations. So you can imagine a retail store in each of these cities, a date representing one of the last 7 days, along with gross sales, total discounts, total tax, super simple report here. We're getting started by pulling in data from Shopify from our 3 different retailers. So with Shopify, we can say, hey, we want to pull in orders or products or product inventory, but really wherever your data lives, whether it is a custom WMS that your 3PL is using or a different POS system, really can grab that data from wherever it lives and start to manipulate it, combine it, standardize it, format it, do whatever we need to do to eventually give you that nice, clean, neat format. And you might have noticed in this example, we're sending that data to a Parabola table. And what you can see here is the live view of a flow. This is showing you, hey, this is the automation that just ran, giving you a complete audit trail, and then also giving you a little dashboard here to be able to dig into some of this data. So for instance, if I want to dig into Chicago, I can see over the last 7 days, okay, here are our gross sales by day. If I wanted to create different views for each of our different locations, could do that as well. And you can have teammates create custom views here so everyone can kind of interact with the data in the way that makes most sense for them. Now, once we've built this once, we can set this on a recurring schedule. So maybe I want this to run every weekday at 9 a.m. or every 10 minutes, or really however frequently you want that flow to run. And now that you have a understanding for what it's like to build in Parabola, let's talk a little bit about some specific use cases. So as you'll see here, we really support teams across just about every phase of the retail experience, starting with manufacturing, standardizing, bill of materials from your different manufacturers or contract manufacturers. We see a lot having to do with shipping and operations and supply chain land. So maybe reconciling shipping costs to recover overages from your different carriers, or figuring out which carriers have the cheapest rates for which states. On the inventory side is definitely where we see a ton of flows, where teams really need to understand both sell-through rates at different locations as well as replenishment rates to make sure you're moving inventory from distribution centers to retail locations, giving yourself a little bit of lead time to make sure that you don't have stockouts across your different locations. That also ties into demand planning, where we're able to build parabola flows that can figure out sell-through rates for different products at different locations and tie those in to what you have on hand across your different 3PLs. So you can figure out days on hand, months on hand, really whatever metrics you need real-time visibility into to make smart decisions with your inventory. On the flip side there, we also have a handful of flows built out in the past related to labor tracking, for instance. So maybe doing a labor efficiency analysis across your locations to figure out if the revenue per location is especially higher at one location versus another, or calculating tips for different employees at your different locations. Just to round us out here, also see a ton of flows related to sales reporting. So something simple like we just walked through, or maybe taking your transactions and getting those ready to be inputted into a general ledger, or breaking down different sales reports by product or location to see what locations are especially profitable or products are doing especially well. Hopefully, if you take anything away from this video, you're seeing that anything that can be done in a spreadsheet can be automated in Parabola by using the right set of these kind of transformation steps, connecting to all your data sources, and having that run on a recurring schedule so you can get out of doing the same type of manual repetitive spreadsheet work. If you have any questions or would like to chat to our team, feel free to click the link below and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in.